Have you wanted a way in ServiceNow to provide consistent steps to fulfilling HR requests? Or have you wanted to know how to configure HR checklist? In this knowledge transfer session, we will be going over configuring HR checklist on HR cases and HR tasks in ServiceNow. Let's begin with HR cases. HR checklist can be added to an HR case manually or automatically when an HR case is created. Let's start with automation. In the top menu, we are going to click All. We are going to be configuring the HR checklist on the HR service. We'll type HR service configuration and click on the module link. In the list view, we have the list of all the configured HR services. We'll configure an HR checklist for the HR service General Benefits Inquiry. Now that the HR service configuration form has opened, let's go down to the tab labeled Checklist. Here we create our checklist by clicking Add Item. We can type in our checklist item text and press the Enter key or click the plus sign. If we want to add more items, we can click on the plus sign next to Add Item. If we want to remove checklist items, we can click on the minus sign here on the right. Also, to rearrange the order of the checklist items, we can do this by clicking and dragging the checklist item. After creating our checklist, we can save the form. Now, every time an HR case of this service is created, it will contain our checklist. Let's test out the new checklist we created. First, we'll open a new HR case in the HR Agent workspace for the service General Benefits Inquiry. In our new HR case, here on the contextual sidebar on the right-hand side of the workspace, click the checklist icon. Once the icon is clicked, you will see the checklist we created earlier. Whenever we check off a checklist item, you will see here in the activity log, an entry is made for that action. Now that we have configured automation of the checklist for this service, let's say we wanted to manually add or remove checklist items. In the contextual side panel, we can click Edit. By clicking here on the upper right of the checklist item box, you can delete a checklist item. We can add a new checklist item by clicking Add Item. Then type in the text of the item. We can click on Save to save the checklist changes. In the native view, the checklist items can be found here. Let's now go over creating checklists for HR task. Here in the HR case, we'll click on the HR Tasks tab, then we'll click New. Click on the HR Task Type field and select the task type Checklist. Let's scroll down and add a short description, and save the HR task. In the contextual sidebar, we can click the checklist icon. Here we can add our checklist items, similar to how we did for an HR case. We can also automate these by creating HR templates. Service activities can be used to automate checklist using HR templates. In this, we will only be going over creating an HR template. In the top menu, we are going to click All. We'll type HR templates and click on the module link. Here in the list view, let's click New to create a new template. We'll give our template a name. For table, we will select the HR task table because HR tasks are created on this table. After this, we'll save our template. Let's switch to the new UI. Now we'll give our template a short description. For the HR task type, we'll select Checklist. We can now add our checklist items. After typing in each item, press Enter to go to the next item. Now that we have our template, we can save this and test it out on an HR task. Back in the HR case we created earlier, let's click on the HR Task tab. And now click New to create a new task. Here in the new HR task, we'll click on the Template field and find the template we created earlier. Then we'll click Save. You can see in the activity log, our checklist items have been added. And when we click on the checklist icon, we see that our checklist have been created.